Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcoming you to another edition of Game Time with Kenny. Yes, Game Time with Kenny is back in the house, and we are ready to rock and roll today. We're going to be doing three different episodes today. This will be the first one. We're going to be covering the NFL schedule as much as we can within about 20 to 30 minutes. Then the second program today is going to be about the career of Sebastian Janikowski, who was drafted by the Oakland Raiders in the first round as a 17th pick in the year of 2000. He calls it quits after 19 seasons in the NFL, and we'll go over his career stats and some of the things that he did perform in the NFL. And our third program today will be uh, featuring about highlights of both the NHL and NBA playoffs, talk about Major League Baseball a little bit, and then if we have not completed the NFL regular season schedule in this edition, we will pick up on that time permitting in that program. And then we'll talk about the day in sports, what happened in the history in sports in this day of May 3rd. Okay, so in the NFL regular season schedule, we are now on week number 12. And it begins with a Thursday night game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans, as they will play at Reliant Stadium, or known as NRG Stadium in Houston. And then the Sunday games. Fox NFL Sunday will have the doubleheader, and most of you in the early game looks like you're going to get the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. I love it when these two play. They've had some great games when they've played in New Orleans, and looks like they should have some great games um, upcoming. And I believe that Carolina New Orleans will be a must see game uh, come November 24th. Tampa Bay will be in Atlanta. The New York Giants will be in Chicago against the Bears. And Detroit will be in Washington. And among the late games, there's going to be a couple of good late games in the NFL on Fox. The Dallas Cowboys, along with Dak Prescott, will travel to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Oh, yes, Dak Prescott against Tom Brady. What an intriguing matchup this should be. But Dak Prescott, along with um, Amari Cooper, who is the wide receiver there. But I'll tell you, the key in this game, when it comes to it, is going to be the play of Dak Prescott. And on the defensive side, Sean Lee has to be active in this game. If Sean Lee is injured and he is not playing on the defensive side, uh, that could hurt the Dallas Cowboys by the time they come to Foxborough against Tom Brady and the Patriots. But how do you stop Tom Brady and the Patriots? I mean, they can hurt you from all different forces. I mean, if one player is down, they've got another one who can step up, and they've got in-depth coverage. It is just magnificent at how the Patriots can still win uh, despite a key injury player. They've proven it time and time again. And, you know, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are going to have to, when they go into Foxborough to play the Patriots, they're going to have to come up with a magnificent game plans to win that game. The Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. That's the other late game. I'm interested to see in this one how Bosa plays on the defensive side for the 49ers, and how they perform on the offensive side. And can they control Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers in that game? The Sunday night game will be Seattle at Philadelphia. And Monday Night Football is in the LA Coliseum between the Ravens and the Rams. The bye weeks uh, for this week, in week number 12, is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, the Minnesota Vikings, the Arizona Cardinals, and the LA Chargers. All right, going to week 13. And Thanksgiving Day usually has, oh, I'm sorry, let's go back to week number 12, as we did not cover the games that were on CBS. Uh, so going to the games on CBS in week 12, we have regional coverage play there. The Denver Broncos are in Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Pittsburgh Steelers going to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Miami Dolphins are in Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. The Oakland Raiders are in the Meadowlands to take on the Jets. And again, we're going to talk about Sebastian Janikowski in our next episode after this program is done, to go through his career as an NFL place kicker. We are going to continue here. Jacksonville will be in Tennessee. That will be another. That will be the late game in the NFL on CBS. That will be a 4 Eastern, uh, 1 p.m. Pacific, and it will be 11 a.m. in Hawaii. Again, the daylight savings time will have already taken place. And remember, Hawaiian Standard Time, they don't do daylight savings times. They're one of only 2 states in the U.S. that do not do it. Them and Arizona. A reminder that the daylight savings time will take place on when you go to bed on Saturday, November 2nd. Please turn your clocks back 1 hour, as Sunday, November 3rd will be the Sunday that daylight savings time does take effect for the fall time. Again, we fall back an hour. So for Sunday, November 3rd, you will get that extra hour of sleep. Week 13 in the NFL. Thanksgiving Day games. Yes. Now I want your feedback on this. You know, it seems like that Detroit always gets the early game every year, and Dallas gets the late game at usually around 4:25, 4:30 Eastern, which will be 11:25 in the morning or 11:30 Hawaiian Standard Time. Do you want the early game and the late game like this to always be in Detroit or in Dallas? Or would you rather have the NFL have them spread out and have different home teams have the opportunity to host a game? You know, comment, send suggestions to me, you know, give me feedback on that. What is your perspective? What would you like to see the NFL do in this? For me, I would like to see a change. I don't want to always see it being in Detroit and Dallas. I'd like to have other NFL teams have opportunities like that. Well, in Detroit, the Bears will be the ones coming to town on Thanksgiving Day. In Dallas, it'll be the Buffalo Bills coming into town this year. And Atlanta will get the home game prime time at 8:20 Eastern, 5:20 Pacific, and 3:20 in the afternoon for those of you in the Hawaiian Standard Time Zone. The New Orleans Saints will be the ones coming into town for that one. Then on December 1st, that's Sunday, the NFL on CBS has the doubleheader, but let's go through the games on Fox first. Philadelphia is in Miami. The Green Bay Packers are in the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. Tampa Bay is in Jacksonville. San Francisco is in Baltimore. And the late game will be the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Well, I tell you what, I'm interested to see what the Packers and Giants will do in the Meadowlands. Will Eli Manning still be playing at quarterback? Or will there be a backup that will play in that game? Aaron Rodgers, against the Giants. I mean, he should be able to just find his way in that game. Unless the Giants can prove to me that they're a good defensive team this year and they can get the pass rush and disrupt the play of Aaron Rodgers, I see Aaron Rodgers in this game having a field day against the New York Giants, which could tear up their secondary and go for long passes of over 20-yard completions in this game. And he could have probably over 10 or 15 plays that could be completions of over 20 yards in this game. And that would just decimate the defensive side of the New York Giants. And I really believe in this game that they could get the running game going, they could get the passing game, and they could just really have a great game plan when they go into the Meadowlands. So that's going to be an interesting game for me to see. Uh, the NFL on CBS will have the doubleheader with the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow. What can you say about this rivalry? I mean, the Raiders and Chiefs, one of the oldest rivalries ever to play in the NFL, and they meet in Arrowhead in this Sunday. And nothing short of remarkable, I believe, is going to be expected in this game. Don't be surprised if this game possibly goes to overtime in this one. I think this one's going to be a really hard fought game, physical. Yeah, you might see a few fights here and there in this game, a few brawls, people getting at it and the intensity growing in this game. Uh, I really look forward to this Raiders Chiefs matchup when they go to the city. Uh, New York Jets are in Cincinnati. Tennessee is in Indianapolis. And the Washington Redskins are in Carolina to take on the Panthers. And in the late games in the NFL on CBS, the LA Chargers are in Denver. Philip Rivers and company going into Mile High. Um, I too think that this game could be decided between a touchdown or less. This one also could come down the wire. It could possibly go to overtime in this one. And the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, this time it's in Pittsburgh. Well, they had a couple of great games between these two a year ago. And remember the first week of the regular season when they played in Cleveland? How awesome was that game? It ended up in an overtime tie. When they went to Pittsburgh, it was a pretty good game there as well. So I expect two great games between these two rivalries, um, as Mayfield will play twice against the Pittsburgh Steelers, once at home and once in Pittsburgh. So I look forward to these two late games. They're going to be really interesting matchups, and they should potentially have some real tight games between these two. Sunday night game, the New England Patriots at the Houston Texans. What can you say about this game? I mean, I think eventually Tom Brady and the Patriots, they're just going to have enough. They're going to have more than enough to beat the Houston Texans on the defensive side of the ball. And I think they're going to uh, pull off the victory. And by the time the second half comes, the Texans are going to be so worn out in this game that I think the Patriots are just going to be able to just control the clock, get first downs, and keep the offensive team off the field. And JJ Watt in this game, I think he's going to be so tired out in this one. I really see the Patriots taking control in the second half of this game, and they may win by more than 2 touchdowns in this game. Uh, the Monday night game is the Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Well, you remember the playoff game when they played in Minnesota a few years ago. Uh, I think this game, potentially could have the makings of the playoff game that was in Minnesota a few years ago. But I do think that Minnesota can stay in this game. But I think the Seahawks, with that crowd noise and everything, I think they're just going to have enough to win this game. Um, Now, actually, let's Look at the bye weeks. There is nobody with bye, so the rest of the NFL schedule from week 13 on to the rest of the season, nobody will have bye weeks. Um, they will all be done after week 12. All right, let's go to week 14 then. Starts off with Dallas at Chicago on a Thursday night game. Uh, that could be an interesting matchup, but I think this one is going to be really a hard fought defensive football game. But I think the Cowboys just have enough. But it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, I think, for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys in this game. Uh, but I'd like to see this one, and I think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys do have enough to win this game. But they look like they might win by a touch less in this one. Uh, the Sunday games, the NFL on CBS has the doubleheader. So the Fox games are going to be Carolina at Atlanta, Washington and Green Bay, Detroit and Minnesota, San Francisco in New Orleans. And the late game is the LA Chargers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, I'm interested in that San Francisco New Orleans game. I mean, you go to the days when Joe Montana, Steve Young was there, Roger Craig, Dwight Clark, and all of the memorable players during that time. Um, Going into the Superdome to take on Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Wow. Drew Brees, um, what is he going to do on the offensive side this year? Who is his primary target that he's going to go to this year? And questions surrounding that. You know, does the Saints have enough offense? Do they still have a reliable running game to keep up with the San Francisco 49ers in this one? Well, I'll tell you, we'll talk more about this game when that time comes in week 14. But you know, we'll give what we think about who's going to win in that game at that time. But expect this one to be still a high scoring game. I think both teams are easily capable to score in the 30s in this game. And I expect that type of a game unless the defensive side for the 49ers and the Saints show up. The Saints have a good defense, and that could slow the pace down a little bit. But I still think both teams can still score over 30 points in this game. Um, the NFL on CBS will have the doubleheader. Again, Baltimore will be in Buffalo in the early game. The Battle of Ohio is in Cleveland. The Bengals will be traveling there. The Dolphins and Jets in the Meadowlands. Indianapolis at Tampa Bay. Um, Denver at Houston. And in the late games, the NFL on CBS will have Kansas City at New England to most of the country. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs go into Foxborough. Wow. When you talk about the last time these teams met on a regular season, it was a Thursday night football game. First game in the NFL season to start off. It was a couple of years ago or so when they played. A fourth quarter collapse, the New England Patriots. And that's about the only time under the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady era that they blew a third quarter lead in that game, and Kansas City comes back with a remarkable fourth quarter in Foxborough to win. Well, I'll tell you what, I think the Patriots learned from that game, and I think that if they play them in Foxborough this time, I think when they have a third quarter lead, that they're not going to collapse as they did a couple of years ago on a Thursday night game to start off the regular season. So I'll be really interested to see how Patrick Mahomes fares up against Tom Brady and the Patriots. The Tennessee Titans are in Oakland to take on the Raiders, and Pittsburgh is in Arizona. Seattle Seahawks are in the LA Coliseum to take on the Rams. And the Monday Night Football game is the Giants and Eagles in Philadelphia. Well, I tell you, I'm interested in seeing that Seahawks Rams game when they play in the LA Coliseum. the real hard fought NFC Western Division battle. And I'm looking forward to this game. All right, we do have time to do one more week, and that's in week 15 of the NFL regular season schedule. And it will start off on a Thursday night game between the Jets and the Ravens in Baltimore. And Fox NFL Sunday will have the doubleheader with the early games being the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. Wow. Black and blue division battle in the Norris division there in the NFC Central division. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, in the frozen tundra in December. Snow probably could be a factor in this game if it does snow. Uh, but cold weather games, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they love these types of games. Now, what do you think about possibly the state of Alaska also having an NFL team? Or what about the state of Hawaii? You know, Hawaii, the governor, and the state are working out to try to possibly get an NFL team out there in Hawaii. What do you think about that? Do you think the states of Alaska and Hawaii should have an NFL team? If you're not familiar, Hawaiian Airlines does have a nonstop service now from Logan International Airport in Boston all the way to Honolulu. And the flight time is 11 and a half hours to go nonstop from Logan Airport in Boston all the way to Honolulu International. So if the New England Patriots do travel out there, it will be an 11 and a half hour trip. But I'll tell you, I would love to see the NFL going to Alaska and in Hawaii. I think it would be great for the NFL, and it could expand to those two states as well. Can you imagine if you have an 8:30 Eastern Standard Time start, it'll be either 2:30 in the afternoon, or when the daylight savings time changes, it will be 3:30 in the afternoon in Hawaii. And then the game gets done probably either by 6 or 7 o'clock at night out there. That would be remarkable, wouldn't it? I would love to see that. I'd love to get your feedback on that as well. I also like to get your feedback on about Alaska. If you think there should be an NFL game there, and then will a team like the Green Bay Packers have a contract where they'll have at least maybe a couple of their home games being played in Alaska during the month of December? What do you think about that? Please let me know on that. Please comment, send your suggestions to me. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, so let's continue on to the Sunday games. Um, Fox NFL Sunday, as we said, Philadelphia, Washington, Seattle at Carolina. The late games are the Rams at the Cowboys and Atlanta at San Francisco. Seattle, Carolina. I would love to see that game. I think that's going to be great. Also, the Rams and Cowboys in the late game. That should be a great defensive game. The Cowboys are going to want revenge after their playoff loss at the LA Coliseum a year ago. I'm interested to see how that is going to turn out there. The NFL on CBS will have the New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. Houston will be in Tennessee. Denver at Kansas City will be seen to most of the country. The Dolphins are in the Meadowlands against the Giants. That's their second trip into there in the regular season. Buffalo will be in Pittsburgh. The late games will be Jacksonville at Oakland and Cleveland at Arizona. Well, I'd love to see that Denver Kansas City game. I mean, that's going to be a remarkable game. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that one. Monday Night Football, Indianapolis at New Orleans. Well, I want to thank you for watching this edition of another edition with Game Time with Kenny being back in the house. And yes, the NFL regular season schedule going to have some great games, and we look forward to your feedback. Please share this link with all your Twitter friends, Facebook, social media, whoever you have contact with. Send an email out to those so that they can view this program. Please subscribe to this channel as well. We'd greatly appreciate it. And until the next edition, which is coming up probably within another minute or so, that time we'll be talking about the career of Sebastian Janikowski, the place kicker who was picked by the Oakland Raiders in the first round in the year 2000 in the NFL draft. He was the 17th overall pick by the Oakland Raiders. You have a great day then. Bye.